Cameron on House, Emma Swan on Once Upon a Time. Let's give a huge Motor City Comic Con welcome to Jennifer Morrison.
I'd always thought of myself as a performer, and looking back now, I think it was more than that. I thought of myself as a storyteller, I think, because I was like writing little books for my teachers and stuff when I was a kid. So I think it was more than just performing. But yeah, my mom said I came home from kindergarten one day and I was like, I'm an actor, why am I not in a play? And she was like, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, and then they went to the music teacher at my grade school, and they were going to do a play with the second and third graders, and she asked if I could audition. And they were kind of like, we're not really taking kindergartners. And then I went to the music teacher and I begged her, and she's like, well, you have to be able to read to do this. And I'm like, but I can read. And she was like, well, you also have to be able to sing. And I was like, but I can sing. And so she basically just ran out of reasons to tell me I couldn't. And then I auditioned and I got a part. So that was kind of the beginning of my hustle. I think a lot of the reason I do the things that I do is because I get to endlessly follow my curiosity. And being creative and being in a creative industry, as crazy as it is in certain ways, allows you to constantly follow your curiosity. And if what you're doing is following your curiosity, you don't ever make it somewhere. It's about the journey, right? So it's about being here right now, being present. It's about who might I meet today that influences the script I'm writing, or it's about running into Giancarlo Esposito, who I haven't seen in years, and just having a beautiful moment of reconnecting with him and talking about the projects that he's working on and talking about wanting to work on something together and what the themes of things that we might want to work on together. So I guess it's just when that's the way you're looking at the world, you're not thinking, well, when have I arrived? I mean, I guess this is dark, but death is the arrival, right? We're just going until we get there, right? So now I'm sweating. It got dark and deep real fast. What's next? I think writing is very painful, but I'm curious to see what I'm capable of writing, and I'm working on that. I love movies, I love cinema, I always have, so, thank God part of my job is watching movies. Anything that you get to sort of make and figure out, I recently had to build a lot of furniture from Amazon, which was... If there were a behind-the-scenes camera on that, I feel like people would have paid a lot of money for that adventure, but luckily no one saw it. But even something like that, where the satisfaction of figuring out how to do something with your hands and read instructions that might not be in English, things like that. So I don't know, I just think that anytime I'm doing something where I feel like I'm creating, building, discovering something new, I love going to art exhibits, I love revisiting art museums over and over again to see what I missed the time before. I love spending time with my family, obviously. I mean, that is number one. But in addition to that, anything I can do hobby-wise with my family is the dream. Not only did I love the character and I loved all the actors I was working with, but I got to learn a lot. I had to look up all that medical stuff, and I certainly don't know what a doctor knows, but I did learn a lot more than I knew before I started, and I feel like that's always a good thing. It's funny because I was seeing clips of it yesterday that had come up that I just hadn't seen in a while. I was like, oh man, those were mouthfuls. I'm so far from it now that I think I've kind of forgotten the trauma of it a little bit, but you just have to figure it out. And in a weird way, it's almost like learning another language, because it's just so many things that don't mean anything to you unless you look it up and figure it out. So there's a lot of research in that way. There's a lot of looking up what all the illnesses are. There's a little bug that wants to be in my mouth. But there's a lot of looking all that stuff up so that I understood what it was, as opposed to it just being a meaningless word, And also, we had to say all that stuff so fast. It was like there was always some crisis, and we were having to talk so fast. And so you had to be so familiar with it. So, I was learning with a lot of distraction. I often memorize with like music on, or the TV and music on, as many distractions as possible, because the set's gonna be so distracting. So you have to be able to do all that. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna go and be super focused, and then, you'll get on set and you won't be able to do anything, because nothing is without distraction. But it also makes it so that, now that when I'm memorizing just normal dialogue, it feels like no big deal, because I don't have to say things like leukoencephalopathy or bright red blood per rectum really fast. I can say that certain sets have been just absolutely wonderful, and I've been very lucky. I've worked with incredible ensembles of actors, and I love everybody that I've worked with in that way. But one of the projects that always stands out as just a fun place to go to work was How I Met Your Mother. It was just so fun to go and make people laugh every day. It was a really lovely, chill group of people. Pam Fryman, who directed most of those episodes, is just a total hero of mine. So to be around her every day was also a big deal. And also, it's just very sensible hours. And so it comes down to that practicality. I was living in LA, it was sensible hours. I could have a life that was like a life. I could go to dinner with people, I could go to birthdays, I didn't have to miss, life events, and I could also go and do this job that was really fun and really satisfying. So that was one of the only times I felt like my work life and my personal life could be in great balance. So part of the joy of that set was that balance. I got an offer to fly to Los Angeles and test for a film where, I'm not gonna say the film because people love to splash these things around, where I did not believe in the ethics of this storytelling. And it ended up being a massive film and a huge hit, and everybody was a big star for a second. And I decided not to test for it because I felt like the message was really wrong. And I was 19. So I think there was something in me that, whether or not I was like, oh, I'm gonna go after strong women, I definitely said no when it didn't feel like it resonated with my values. And so, that has stuck with me. And I think sometimes what you say no to ends up defining you more than what you say yes to a little bit. And so some of those no's put me on the path of playing the characters that I did end up playing, because the characters that I did play did align with my values.
The Last Airbender, we have, who wants to come up first? Oh, we have Grey Delisle Griffin. Woo-hoo! Superstar. She makes me sick. She's like a comic, an actress, a writer, a singer. Check out her Spotify and her albums. They are amazing. And she's like beautiful. It's like, yeah, okay, what else you do? So don't start writing comics, okay? All right, we have, who's next? Dante Basco. Y'all are gonna love this. Greg Baldwin.
My first animation was 2003, so I was already 43, which is actually good. Old people can't actually break into the business. I always believe it or not.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it was a good friend of mine, Bill Motz, who's a showrunner for Disney, and Jeff Bennett, the voice of Johnny Bravo, he was at my bachelor party in Houston in 1987. I mean, we go back a long, long way. And Bill knew that I knew Jeff and said he was doing this show called Shaolin Showdown, and said, hey, let's surprise Jeff Bennett, and we're just going to cast you as his dad and show up to the
You were
set."
playing Jeff Bennett's dad?
Yeah, I played his dad for one episode of Shaolin Showdown. Daddy baby. And I literally, I walked in, and it was Tara Strong was in there, Jeff Bennett was in there, Tom Kenny was in there. I think you might have been in there too.
You were there too?
Yeah.
They were like, no, that was the recording. And I was like, I was saving all my really good acting for when we were actually recording, and now, oh well.
And it was Johnny Bravo? Was
Johnny Bravo. I played Jenny Bravo when he turned into a woman for a while.
I love it.
Hey, put him on. That's a great show. Actually, I did a movie called The Debut, and it was his first Filipino-American film, and yeah, shout out to Debut fans. But the character I played was inspired by the creator, Johnny Bravo. Yeah. But my first one, when I did the Goofy movie, it was the 90s, and I was young and kind of like, whatever. Me and my brothers, I remember walking around the Disney lot, and it's in Burbank, right? So it's super hot.
Yeah.
And like I took my shirt off or something. I'm like walking around the lot. Like me and my brothers, like we're like baggy pants, no shirt, walking around the lot. The security guard was like, "Hey, you can't be walking around here like that." We're like, "Huh?"
No shirt, no service.
No sitters and standers. I'm a stander for sure. I'm a stander. You're a stander. You're a brilliant sitter.
I'm a sitter.
You're a brilliant sitter.
And I had a lady like I was like 9 months pregnant, and she's sort of a big person in the industry, and she tried to get me to stand up. She was like,
Really?
She was the lead in the show, and I was like, I thought she was joking, because I love to wear high heels, well, I used to when I was younger, but I was like 9 months pregnant, and in like 5-inch heels, and she was like, we're gonna stand for this, and I was like, we are, but we are not, you know, and then I laughed at her, I was like, she's like, no, we really are gonna stand, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, and she's like, no, and then the director's like, can you stand? Because she
What?
wants everybody to stand, and
No.
I pulled my diva card out. I was like, no, I'm not standing.
Because there's some of the greatest voice actors are sitters, and I've been in the room. Kevin Michael Richardson, sitter. Mark Hamill, sitter.
I feel like-
You, sitter, and they're doing the most amazing performances sitting. I'm a stander
Yeah.
because I'm not that good.
All the villains are getting redeemed, and now I feel like it's just too boring. Like, you need a villain to like smack up against, you know? I don't know. I just feel like I don't want a redemption arc for Azula. I want her to stay a villain because it's fun.
I love, my own mother thought I was a monster. She was right, of course, but it still hurt.
Why am I so bad at being good?
If you look for the light, you will often find it.
Rest in peace, Robin Williams. He was phenomenal. Just everything you think he'd be, like you want him to be, you know, he was that, you know, like, and more. It's funny and smart and fast and witty and like the coolest uncle ever. But then also, you know, I had a lot of time to spend with him, especially in the mornings in the makeup chair. And I was a big fan of Dead Poet Society, so we spent a lot of time talking about poetry and his favorite poems. And I was starting to write poetry at that time, and he was a big just supporter of me being a poet. And I would talk about my favorite poems and things that were happening to me. And so he was one of the best ever. Rest in peace, Robin.
I just love meeting all of these people. Every weekend I do these cons, and you guys give me just as much as you're getting from me. Like, I mean, there's nothing like going to a place where you really had no idea that anybody gave a crap, you know, and then people are just like, I don't know, it's wonderful giving all, I stand in front of my table and give hugs because I'm so grateful for you guys being here,
Yes.
and this is just wonderful. I do them almost every weekend.
It's really a worldwide community. It's crazy because we've all been in this industry for a long time, right? And we've done a lot of different work, and it's amazing. Like we live a great life doing something that a lot of people, you know, dream of, and we dream of also. But also, it's crazy to be a part of a project like you. All of a sudden, as it started getting popular, right? And I don't know, like there's no internet, and you're like, what's going on? And people are talking about it. People are going like, what's happening? It was wild.
It is wild. It's still wild.
It's still
You know,
wild. It's still wild.
And the fans of this show are great people. I have never met someone who's a fan of Avatar who isn't like a really deep down good person. You know, you can't be a jerk and be rooting for. You know, I mean, like, you know, it's good and evil. You know.
I think the community's amazing, and it just happened to be like the right people on this side too that voice the characters. It's so cool.
I think the power of the show from the very beginning is it was never dumbed down for kids. You know, and I think if you watch it as a very young kid, it hits on a very different level when you watch it as an adult. And you know, thank God that this beautiful little jewel was made, because honestly, I don't think it would be greenlit today.
Right.
I think somebody would walk into the office and say, okay, we got this great idea for this kid's show on Nickelodeon. It starts out with genocide. Get out of my office. But instead, it's this wonderful thing that has literally changed lives. People, you know, say, "Was Iroh your favorite character?" And it's like, I don't think of him as a character anymore. A character doesn't actually do good in the real world. And I've talked to people again and again and again talking about, oh, Iroh said this thing that got me through this dark time, or Iroh was the father I never had. And I think Iroh specifically, I think that's the power of the character. He reminds us of either the father we were lucky enough to have or the father that we wanted.
you, welcome back. How's it been so far? Jeff, let's start with you.
It's been great, really great. I mean, I love coming to Motor City because the fans seem to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're thousands strong.
You do a lot of these. I know how passionate you are in interacting with fans. What have the interactions been like so far in person, face-to-face in our town?
Everyone's been so polite, so sweet. It's been wonderful, wonderful. You know, I love interacting with the fans. I love touching base and hearing from them. And I know it's not a long time that you get with each person, but I feel like it's meaningful. You know, it's so Mandalorian hadn't come out yet, but I heard about it, and I cornered him at Celebration. And I was like, I was just being cheeky and sort of like, you know, taking it out on my friend. And I was like, so like, what is this Mandalorian thing? And he was like, well, and I was like, I mean, she's not dead. She probably works in that world, right? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, I think she works in that world.
It was so very telling that you know so little about Moff Gideon. He knows everything about everyone in this room. So, you know, when I come into this show in a TIE fighter, you know, I built everything backwards. I had seen many of the Star Wars movies when I was young, and I was a kid who loved that world. I always wanted to be an incarnation of Darth Vader. As it turns out, I'm an extension of that. But to be able to fly my own TIE fighter and to do all my own dirty work and to be able to handle the darksaber meant that I was competent. And you know, in life, sometimes we don't think we deserve, sometimes in our brains, do I deserve to be here? Am I competent? Am I competent? Competence leads you to feeling competent because then you start to learn. If you put in the work, what you put in is what you get out. So then I went to work. I looked at a lot of different mocks. I looked at how they did it. I didn't want to copy them. I looked at David Niven, who was such a gentleman and had such a regal quality about him. And I wanted to bring all these things to the character, much like in life. When you think about who you want to be and how to recreate yourself, you do the homework that exemplifies the qualities that you want to be. So you act as if until you can really act. And so I started to put those pieces together, and I grew it and became. And then I left myself alone and just allowed myself to embody my own power. So, great fun.
It was on Tatooine, Kalimoto's docking bay, and I was watching them do the scene, and you know, it was in the volume, so it's the first time seeing that, and thinking, oh my god, we're living in the future. And you have a practical set, right there, it's the ramp of the Razor Crest, and one of the guys from Legacy Effects, his name was Mike, was there, they're shooting the scene, and I saw Grogu walking down, and immediately I was like, what is that? What is that? And I remember Dave looking at me going, don't tell anybody. How am I going to sit on this? You're going to break the internet when this thing drops. And so it was super exciting to see that. And then later on, I made friends with the props department. You want to see some really cool stuff? Make friends with the props department because they will show you everything. And Josh was amazing, and I was able to see whole Grogu, and they have different versions of Grogu. They've got the hero version with the silicone soft. It's weighted like a baby, the little ears, the hair, it moves. And then they have the actual practical puppet one for the longer shots. And it was just incredible to see that. I felt so privileged because I was a fly on the wall, and I got to hear. I had no idea what was going on in the episode because they keep it so secret.
He used the full animatronic Grogu. There's like 5 of them moving his arms and his legs. His ears are one person, his eyes are one person, his mouth is another person. Like it's just this whole encompassing thing, and they wear headphones so they can actively participate in the scene as him. So he's legitimately acting with you. And it is one of the coolest experiences ever. And I absolutely just adore it. I was like, can I get pictures of my daughter in the ramp with Grogu? And they were like, ooh, I don't know. And it took 3 months for me to get like an okay. And it was like, I think they had, the props guys all came in 2 hours early for their day because they were gonna like animatronically like put him in the scene, or with my daughter. And the pram, which it had to be the pram from season 1 and 2, not the pram from season 3, because it's different. So we can cut that out, so it had to be that pram. So the process had to put that out of storage. And then the set photographer had an entire thing set up, and I was like, oh my, she's 4 months old. She can't even see up.
I wanted to take so much, but I got busted taking a photo from behind the volume. I mean, literally, it was a technical photo of thousands of cameras from in between the volume and the scrim that went around the room. And so there were people everywhere watching us. And the gentleman said, "Can I have your phone, please?" Because I stuck it, in my cummerbund. When I came on the stage, and I'm sneaking shots, and the guy's standing there watching me. Yeah, and he says, "Can I have your phone?" I said, "Why?" He said, "I want you to stand here and delete that photo." And I said, well, what? He said, "You must delete that photo." I said, "I am Bob Gideon. I am not deleting."
We used to play this bargain bin game, that if you're somewhere and the person you're with happens to be an actor, you see how many movies are in the 99-cent bin. So that's the only game I ever played in Walmart. And so to actually see 3 of mine once, by the way. 3. And so to see the action figure, it's absolutely amazing. It happened with Battlestar, but it was a very short run, and you never really saw them that much. You had to buy them all online, really. But I was with my daughter at Barnes & Noble like 2 days ago, and we were heading to the kids department, so you have to walk by the toys, and we walked by all the pops, and she went, Mommy Bo-Katan. And it was the throne pop, and I was like, oh, don't say it too loud.
Carla, do you grab the saber in the store if you ever walk by and just see if anyone is not looking and just practice?
If it's a really good one, I do from time to time. I saw my figure was in a Walmart, and I absolutely flipped out. So I called the guy over. I said, "How many of those you got in the back?" "Give me a box." I'm gonna send it to all the kids in my life. Yeah, right.
As a nerd, that's kind of like, that's the mecca. You get an action figure of yourself, and you kind of go, yeah, that's really cool. That is really, really cool. Now I can play with myself. What? I don't know what you're talking about.
You haven't lived to
Yeah! It doesn't matter what scale, 1/6, 1/8, or age. You need to explore that. It's cool.
Cons, mainly for this, to be able to really show myself as the true me to all of you, out of respect for the courage that you have to show up. And what I've learned from you and why I'm in gratitude is because I really enjoy people being in enchantment, joy, and wonder. Coming to Comic-Cons, enchantment, joy, wonder, and cosplay. To be able to act and be all of who you want to be through the characters that you love and enjoy is an honoring. And when you honor yourself to be able to be playful and like a child again, to inhabit all of your dreams and more, to spend a weekend meeting your heroes and heroines that empower you to feel good, that share love with you and you share your love with us. And that's why we keep coming back. But to never forget to be true to yourselves and to always be this joyous from Monday to Friday and during the week. To always have that wonder, enchantment, and joy in your psyche, no matter how hard or how tough the situation gets, is to be light in your consciousness. Because it should be fun. Our lives should be in this sharing. And this sharing means everything to me. So I keep coming back because, as Simon said and Paul has said, we are energy. Life force is energy. It's in that sharing of the best of who you are that we raise each other up and we become a whole together. And so I thank you for teaching me and allowing me to be a part of this beautiful energy that's shared here in these rooms, in these different cities, week after week, and giving us the opportunity to come together again as human beings, as cast members, and Simon said it can be very lonely for us. But when we see each other, it's, oh my gosh, that feeling all comes back again. So thank you very much.
They all said it beautifully. You guys mean the world to us. For me, for